Back more Haunting of Hill House. This is episode 3 of season 1, and very excited as always to carry on, so it's going to happen. Obviously always a bit nervous with this kind of scary thing, because I'm not good with scary things normally, but here we are. I am really intrigued by the storylines going on though, and all the characters and stuff. I think there's some really good things kind of happening in terms of both plot and performances, stuff like that. It's really interesting things at play, and I'm actually really intrigued to see them kind of get explored further, especially with the prospect of potentially every episode focusing on a different kind of sibling in this family, maybe. I guess we'll see if that truly is a pattern. If this episode it kind of focuses on someone in particular, we'll have to wait and see. It would be a good structure. But either way, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. Last episode was great, quite disturbing. Particularly all the stuff with like the kittens and everything. It was just, but really good nonetheless. And I'm fully on board with this story, and I can't wait to see, exactly what avenues they're going to explore with it a bit further. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the next one.
Are you, Nelly? I have another nightmare.
I don't know if that's...
Okay. Nelly?
Oh, no.
What does Mr. Smiley look like? Just a big smile. Too big. He's always smiling, but he isn't happy.
Oh boy.
That's really scary.
I didn't know Joaquin Phoenix was going to be in this.
Something about we make ourselves really safe, and no one ever gets in. Mr. Smiley does.
Our other two foster kids are
Oh, Mr. Smiley can go away.
And the Mr. Smiley thing, did that start right away?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate poster, isn't it?
After she moved in? Thank you.
Wearing gloves again? Take it that's a thing. Can she, like, read people with her hands? I think she did it with a little girl. Lovely. Don't think that's going to go on the fridge, do you? There's a kitten in there. Don't you dare. Ooh.
Do you feel cold right there?
Yep.
I told you. Well, it doesn't exactly clear things up, does it, Clara?
Well, it's only episode 3, so...
She's like a brick wall. I know the type.
This was a sick bed. How'd you know? Hello?
Yeah, she's got some powers or something, isn't she? I suppose that does help with her job if she can, like, get stuff from her touch.
It's all about the money for you, Steve. We're well aware.
Of course it's about the money.
I mean, you guys have read
If you're in a
it,
TV
right?
show, don't write a book about your siblings' lives. Cold-hearted snake. Is there going to be a giant snake thing haunting everything? Well, this won't be a snake, because it doesn't have hands.
Why are you yelling at it?
Because the dumbwaiter is not a toy. It can be dangerous.
That's all you need to say then.
Fair enough. Come
I
on.
like Thea a lot.
She's scared.
What makes you say that?
My powers, bitch! Mr. Smiley!
You ready? Going up! Hey! Up! Theo!
Lou!
Sorry about it. The demon accepts your sacrifice. Of course. Oh! That was horrible. Oh.
Something down here!
Oh, I didn't like that at all. Oh, no, what is that? That was horrendous.
Let's see. Here we go.
It's okay.
Oh, I'm fucking scarred and I'm 24 years old.
Did you rip your shirt?
Oh, no. If this is that buddy. Mr. Smiley, hello. Oh, God, no. That was nothing to smile about at all.
Beats the cold shoulder from Shirley. That table's getting tense.
Stacy!
Surely not.
Stacy!
think we found Stacy.
You coming?
I want to see
I think Stacy's done enough of that.
Hey.
Because I don't want to have to tell them that I'm fucking pissed at Auntie Nell, who should have known better.
Oh man.
What this does to a family. She fucking knew better.
I mean,
She did it anyway.
I feel like there's a lot to what happened to Nell, isn't there? But, I do like that what she was saying to Shirley did infer how Shirley kind of talked to the kids in the last episode.
Whatever was down there, they definitely don't believe me. Nobody ever believes me.
I think she will.
I believe you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
She's very clever. I suppose with like whatever she can do with her hands, she's insightful. At the very least, I'd be like, right, we've got that open. Mum and Dad, come and see this. Not go on my own, because if that bloody thing's there.
You were so scared.
Wonder why? I know she's fine, because she's in the present day, older, but I'm like, leave.
Would you mind if I took a quick look down in your basement?
Yeah, because that's where Mr. Smiley lives. That's where the thing that
About to go back to work.
attacked Luke was as well.
Thank you.
I wonder if it's like the same creature, but it appears with like a different appearance to like different kids, maybe. But it's always in the basement. Some really good sound design in this one. This couch is sus. Let's sit on it. God. I just have an awful vision of like a hand like coming out and grabbing hers from inside this. Oh no, it's on the ceiling, isn't it? It's on the ceiling. No. Oh, it's a smile. It's a smile. No.
Thanks.
Oh, is he dodgy?
What are you...
His shirt's a similar pattern to the couch. He's sus.
Your smile.
Is this...
No, I'm gonna wait for the cops.
I have a bad feeling about what she's found out.
Okay.
I really, really don't like that you went down there by yourself.
I just wanted to
Well, neither do I.
That's right.
Oh. What are you feeling? Oh. Ah!
Honey?
Oh, God.
And when I get them, I see all sorts of...
Oh.
Your grandmother was like that too.
Oh, one's in the family.
Sensitive.
Gloves?
Help with the cold.
Does his dad know that you're sensitive?
Kind of. We'll talk a lot more about it as you get older. But in the meantime...
About that. Earlier, she felt the cold air and stuff, didn't she? I'm glad they didn't just go down like how both parents are like, oh, it's just kid stories, blah, blah, blah.
Some wild stuff in there. That was really wild stuff, considering that you were asleep for what? Like 99% of it?
Yeah, have we seen young Stephen yet?
So what are you going to do with the money?
I feel like we haven't really gotten a lot of that.
Person.
Are you going to touch Nell to find out a bit more of how she died? Oh, God.
I don't know, what do people usually talk about? How are you? How was your day? Stuff like that.
What demons haunt you?
I touched her hand and I didn't even...
Oh, think she's quite desperate to open up to someone, isn't she? About all the powers.
Stop!
Oh god.
Touch me.
Huh. Okay, I really enjoyed that episode. Again, we're on quite a good run with these first few episodes of the show, and, you know, from what I hear and how well received this is, I imagine that does continue for the rest of the series. But yeah, this was really well done. I remember being quite freaked out with the first episode. I think the second episode had a few, like, ugh, gross moments, but I wasn't, like, as kind of creeped out. At least not, like, the highs of, like, creepiness in episode 1, I remember. This episode really did creep me out again. So maybe it's going to be a pattern, and the odd number of episodes are, like, going to truly creep me out. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I can see every episode kind of being a bit freaky at times, because that's kind of the point. But this one, there were just a few moments that were just so well done. The biggest thing for me was whatever that zombie-like creaturey thing Luke saw in the basement, when you first see the hand appear. Because they don't make a big spectacle of it. I think that's why it's really effective. It's not like, oh, a big, like, crux of the music as it happens, like, boom, when the hand appears. It just appears. And they don't make a big deal of it at first. And then it becomes, you know, a bigger thing. And just, you know, you're trapped in the dark in this isolated space and there's this thing crawling towards you is creepy as hell. But just that first initial appearance of the arm, like, crawling out, ooh, just thinking about it now makes my skin crawl. Those are, like, some, like, scares that really do get me, because jump scares, like, they happen in the moment, oh, you know, you take a few minutes, you calm down, you're kind of over it. But there's moments like that are quite subtle and underplayed when they, like, first appear, that they just stick with you. So there's this film called The Chernobyl Diaries that I watched at the cinema with my friends. And even then I wasn't, like, terribly big on, like, horror movies or anything. I'm not my kind of thing, because I don't like scares. But we all went to watch it anyway, because we are smart people. And it was actually not that bad at all. It wasn't really that terrifying. It doesn't have... I think it opened with Walking on Sunshine playing, so I was kind of like, okay, this is a thing. But there was only one scene from that film I remember all these years later, and I can't quite remember the whole context or anything, but one of the characters is just, like, walking down the street or something, and you just see a silhouette just, like, run across the street in the background. And they don't make a big deal out of it, they don't draw attention to it. And that's the one bit of the film I remember, because I remember that was, like, one of two moments in the entire film that really freaked me out. And that, like, zombie kind of arm first appearing is exactly the same kind of thing. Like, oh, just, yeah. And even seeing, like, this weird incarnation of Mr. Smiley, that was another big scare for me in this episode. Just kind of, like, the production values of everything have been so good. And I'm really enjoying that. And the fact that there does seem to be a pattern with, they are putting a lot of focus on one individual every episode. And this one was Theo, who obviously we haven't seen, like, a big deal of. I think in the previous two episodes we've gotten, like, glimpses of it and stuff, but it was cool to see her get so much focus, and I really enjoyed her character a lot. I felt particularly attached to the younger version of Theo. I don't quite know why. I think there's something really endearing about seeing, like, a young person like the younger Theo, who's, like, very in tune and very wise and stuff. I always find that quite endearing, like, this really intelligent kid. And I think, you know, some of that intelligence clearly comes from her ability, which is a new thing, I guess. So there's, like, more elements to it than I was expecting. You know, it's not just, like, this family move into this haunted house and they get creeped out and scarred for life or whatever. Like, maybe the house becomes haunted because, or, you know, to a normal family, they'll move in, none of this kind of stuff would happen to them. But because this family that have, like, people who may be in tune or in sync with something else, and I think they said it was sensitive, that's what they used, because they have, like, some sensitive people in the family. Maybe that's why all these things are happening, and maybe why the dad doesn't really notice things or can't hear these creepy sounds that some of the other kids have heard, like they've all maybe inherited part of that from their mum. That's why they're having all of this. And Theo seems to have been one of the most affected people, because she touches things, she can kind of sense like information about its past and feel things from people. And I thought that was really cool, because they have brought attention to the fact that she was like wearing gloves a lot in the previous episode. And you're like, okay, I guess that's just a thing. And they really delve into that in this episode, so it's really cool, and how the different timelines have kind of tied together. So it's not like we are getting necessarily entirely new scenes that provide context to Theo. It was just like the scene in episode 2 where they bring Nell's body in, and she's like, I can't do this, Shelley, I'm sorry, and she walks off. And then in this episode, we actually follow her on to when she walks off. It's like a continuation of that scene. So I feel like you could, maybe when you watch the entire show, I feel like you could easily like cut some scenes out from all different episodes and just make like this really nice chronological timeline, which I think is really satisfying, actually. So you can tell they've really thought it out, what they're going to show in what episode and how it all links together. I actually think that's really cool. I imagine there are some kind of videos like that, putting like a chronological, that's not the word, chronological order of like the timeline and stuff. I just think that's really interesting. And the idea that, you know, the mum and Theo, potentially some others in the family as well, are like sensitive to this kind of thing. Really interesting concept, and could kind of explain why it's only maybe necessarily happening to these particular people. And I imagine Nell maybe had a similar thing, because she kind of saw that thing over her bed a lot. I think that was Nell. It was a while since I watched the first episode, but I think that was her, who kind of saw that like woman was like hanging over her or something with all the hair coming down. Oh, that was another big moment in the show that really freaked me out. So yeah, focusing on her, seeing her, how she kind of goes about her daily job, and she can kind of use her powers or sensitivity to deal with that situation with that little girl, which got very dark. Wasn't quite expecting that twist with the Mr. Smiley, but it's the classic, you know, humans are the real monsters all along kind of thing that I know a lot of fiction will do. And it's, you know, it's a good story to tell because it's probably quite true. So yeah, the fact that this girl is like being molested by her like stepfather, and he was like Mr. Smiley, and she kind of repressed it so much, and she had to make it into this other monster to kind of cope with it. It's awful and really dark and horrible to kind of uncomfortable to watch, but it's an interesting way of showing that Theo can still be haunted in her present day life, as opposed to just everything that happened to her when she was younger as well. So it's like they just can't quite escape from it, and especially now with, you know, Nell's suicide and everything, which I think there's clearly more to it than that. I'm not sure if it was suicide or she was just killed by something in the house. Maybe it's a similar situation to how their mother died, and they mentioned that their dad didn't tell them exactly how their mother died or anything. We don't know how it happened, so maybe they need, if they find that out, maybe that can give them some closure. Maybe that ends everything that's still haunting them nowadays. I don't know, there's kind of a mystery there. I don't know if they're like hinting the dad's kind of dodgy near the end of the episode there, when she was like shouting at him to like get away from her, don't touch her, when he was trying to get young Nell out of the house on that fateful night. But I like how they kind of crossed that with present day Theo and that woman. She was like, touch me. I liked that kind of contrast. So yeah, everything with that, there's a lot still to unpack, but you can really see there's a lot of confidence in how they're revealing stuff, so you can like, well, we're going to find it all out and piece it all together eventually. There's still 7 episodes left. So I'm just enjoying being along for the ride right now, and I like that a lot. So all the flashbacks and stuff are really cool, gelling together, and how we get some certain links. So Theo and Shirley had a conversation about, you know, how she should tell the kids about Nell, and she seems to kind of take a bit of that advice on board in a scene that we saw in the previous episode. So that's really nicely done. Then we've got some more flashbacks to like the wedding, Nell's wedding, Stephen kind of offering to share some money with all the siblings and like get some rights for the book sales and stuff, and it seems Theo took him up on that. potentially Shirley's husband did as well. Maybe that's what, I think that's what they were hinting at with his separate checkbook and stuff that she found in the last episode. Because she would be a bit annoyed about that, because Shirley still holds a grudge over it, which I think is fair. Profiting, you know, I would probably be upset if a sibling tried to like profit off all our childhood horrors and one of our parents' deaths. That's not ideal. But at the same time, it probably makes a cracking read, so... But yeah, delving into a bit more of those flashbacks and stuff, and I just, you get the sense that every single scene they're showing will have a relevance and does inform something about the character. It's not just like, oh, yeah, that's a bit of a filler scene to kind of pad out the runtime or whatever. And I'm really enjoying that. You just wonder, like, oh, how could this come into play a bit later on? Like in the previous episode, the mum, what she was saying about flicking the lights on the porch like 2 or 3 times or something, and then the end of the episode ended with that model of the house and the porch lights flickered in that same way. It's like, oh, she's come home, so maybe the mum spirit's there, what's going on? They even kind of drew attention to the fact that Stephen maybe slept through a lot of that fateful night. So how did he know any of this stuff? Is he sensitive as well? They haven't really focused on like seeing a younger version of Steve, I don't think. Maybe we did in the first episode, but I don't think we got a lot of it, which is an interesting thing. Maybe my crazy theory right now based on that, and again, I probably should have rewatched episode 1 really, but I have like a crazy theory that Stephen's not actually like a member of the family, and he wasn't actually like in existence. I know they like the dad mentioned him and everything, but I don't know, maybe there's something creepy going on there and he's the source of it all, and I don't know. But I feel like there's going to be more to them drawing attention to the fact that Stephen like stepped through a lot of the events, and yet he's writing a book about it. Maybe it's just like an interesting, funny contrast, I don't know. But that's really cool, all these flashbacks, just establishing what like the relationships with the you know, with all the siblings and the dad were kind of like when they were younger, and in like 2 or 3 years prior to the events of the main show. So all of that was really cool. Mrs. Dudley, I believe we saw her in the first episode. I feel like I remember seeing her. I don't know if she's going to have anything to do with things or what, but I loved young Theo kind of standing up to her and kind of sticking up for young Luke about that, you know, when she was kind of telling him off. That was really cool. I think that was one of the scenes that really made me like really like and admire the younger version of Theo as well. Not that I didn't like the adult version. So that was all cool. And yeah, just like the zombie scene, like the zombie thing crawling at Luke, that whole sequence was really well done, really intense, quite spooky. And the whole Mr. Smiley thing. And when they like showed the picture again, and it did seem like the stepdad and Mr. Smiley in that girl's drawing did have like the same smile, which I thought was a neat little touch, because obviously they were like the same person. So that was all cool. And yeah, learning a bit more about the mum, why she was having those headaches in the previous episode, they kind of linked to her sensitivity, it would seem. And maybe that's going to tie into exactly why all these events were happening to them. And yeah, the mystery deepens. We're getting a few answers, but still loads of questions as well. They're adding on more and more questions, but I don't feel overwhelmed with it. Like the ending with Theo, you know, touching Nell's body and clearly seeing something quite traumatic that must have happened to Nell. I mean, you know, she died, so I imagine it's going to be traumatic no matter what, but she was really shaken up by that. And I kind of liked the parallel to the previous episode where Shirley kind of first saw, I can't remember exactly what it was now, but she was like spooked by something when she was like cleaning Nell's body up and stuff. She kind of fell to the floor and collapsed in a similar way to the way Theo did in this one when she kind of touched Nell. So I thought that was an interesting kind of parallel. And yeah, I don't know where they could be going with that, but it did seem like some crazy stuff went down when Nell died and in her final moments, so I don't know exactly what Theo learned there, but clearly she wanted rid of it, and she wanted to deal with it by getting it on with that woman again, so all the power to her, I say. So yeah, overall just a fantastic episode again. A few answers in a way, we're learning a bit more about the relationships between the characters, some really good scares in this one, very creepy, but it's not just like a cheap jump scare to try and get a reaction out of you. It's like really well done and very powerful stuff, particularly that zombie arm. That, ooh. If it even was a zombie, it looked like a zombie kind of thing. But I can see why Luke was so traumatized, and I think he kind of turned to drugs in the end to kind of escape from all of that. Which is kind of sad, but yeah. And yeah, learning more about the mum and the flashbacks, what was going on with her, the sensitivity, the idea of some of them maybe having kind of powers in terms of the sensitivity, and how that could tie into the larger story, we don't really know yet. Yeah, just really well done. I'm really enjoying how they're telling this story. And they go back and forth a lot with all these different timelines, but it doesn't feel confusing. I think it's really easy to follow. It's not convoluted. And there's a lot of confidence in how they're kind of revealing facts and different elements to this story. So really, really interesting stuff. And I can't wait to see it get expanded on even further in the next episode. And I'm kind of like, ooh, who are they going to focus on next? Who's it going to be? I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see if they'll do an episode all about Luke. Because I do still feel like we haven't quite gotten much of him at all. I don't think we even saw adult Luke in this episode. So that's one I'd be quite intrigued by. But we're planting some seeds with that, because we saw a really traumatic experience that young Luke went through in this episode. So, you know, it's not solely about like the main centric character. We do get bits from other characters, but really enjoyed the focus on Theo and her kind of little powers and stuff. And yeah, the plot thickens, and I am very, very intrigued to find out more. But another fantastic episode. Potentially my favourite episode so far, maybe. I remember really liking episode 1 as well, though. But every single episode so far has been strong. Yes, there's only been 3, but still very excited for more. And we're only like a third of the way through, so who knows what else they have up their sleeve to kind of surprise and almost certainly scare me. But amazing, amazing episode. Really love this one a lot. Can't wait for more. And until my next reaction, thanks for watching.